Welcome to Reddit Revenge Stories. Did you know over 90% of our viewers don't subscribe? If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and hit that like button. We're targeting 500 likes on this one. Let's dive into today's tale. I never thought I'd be the kind of man to tell this kind of story. For most of my life, I believed in the simple things: love, loyalty, honesty. I believed that if you were good to people, they'd be good to you. And above all, I believed that my wife, Amanda, was my soulmate. We'd been married 10 years, and in those 10 years, I never strayed, never lied, never even looked at another woman in any way that might be mistaken for disloyalty. But as I learned, belief doesn't make anything true. Sometimes it just makes you a bigger fool. Amanda and I met during our last year of college. She was studying communications, and I was a computer science major. We were different in every way that counted. She was outgoing, charming, spontaneous. I was quiet, methodical, steady. Maybe that's why we worked so well back then. She brought life to my world, and I gave her structure in return. We got married a year after graduating, bought a modest house in a suburb just outside of Charlotte. I landed a decent job as a software engineer, and she eventually found her place doing marketing for a local real estate company. Nothing extraordinary, but it was our life, and for a long time I thought it was enough for both of us. The cracks didn't start to show all at once. At first it was little things. Her coming home later than usual, suddenly spending more time on her appearance when she used to be indifferent, her laughter turning a little too forced whenever I asked simple questions like, "How was your day?" I chalked it up to stress. Her company had recently gone through a big merger and her role had changed. I wanted to be supportive, so I didn't press. Maybe I should have. Then came the phone. She became glued to it, texting at odd hours, flipping the screen down whenever I walked into the room. One night, around midnight, I got up to grab a glass of water. I found her sitting in the living room with the lights off, phone in hand, smiling in a way I hadn't seen her smile at me in years. She didn't notice me. I turned around and walked back upstairs without a word. That was the moment the doubt really started to take root. I didn't want to believe she was cheating. Amanda was many things. Flawed, yes, but I never thought she'd betray me like that. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I started paying attention. I noticed the new perfume she never wore around me. I saw how she'd set her phone on silent the second she walked through the door. I watched her take weekend trips for conferences she never used to attend. It was all there, plain as day. Still, I needed proof. I wanted to be wrong, but I wasn't going to be blind. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a keylogger on the laptop she occasionally used. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying her in return. But what I found? It shattered me. She wasn't just having an affair, she was in love with someone I knew. His name was Brandon. He was a contractor we'd hired the previous year to renovate our basement. I remember thinking he was a nice guy, friendly, respectful. He'd chat with me about sports, ask about my work, even brought his tools in early every day like he was on some kind of mission. Turns out that mission was my wife. The emails were sickening to read. They talked about how alive she felt around him, how boring and predictable I'd become, how she wished she'd met him years ago. They laughed about my routines, my robot personality. Brandon said she deserved passion, spontaneity. She agreed. She talked about how she sometimes pictured a life with him instead of me. I felt like I was watching my own funeral in slow motion. And yet, I didn't confront her, not right away. See, something inside me snapped. Not in the way you think, not rage, not violence. It was a cold, hard break, a clarity I hadn't felt in years. If Amanda wanted to destroy what we had, then I was going to make sure she regretted it every single day for the rest of her life. But I wasn't going to yell or cry or beg. No, I was going to be smart, calculated, strategic. The first thing I did was make a copy of everything: emails, messages, even voice notes. I backed it up on 3 drives, one of which I stored at work just in case. Then I started gathering financial information. Amanda and I had joint accounts, but I was the one who paid most of the bills. I began slowly transferring money into a private account she didn't know about. Nothing too big, just enough each week that she wouldn't notice. I also opened a new credit card in my name only. I started documenting everything: her absences, her fake trips, her text messages, her deleted photos. I even placed a GPS tracker on her car just to confirm what I already knew. She was meeting him at a cheap motel on the edge of town, twice a week like clockwork. The most painful part? She came home from those meetings smiling like she'd just had the best day of her life. She'd kiss me on the cheek, tell me she was exhausted, then fall asleep while I lay next to her pretending everything was fine. I became a master of pretending. But behind the mask, I was planning. I started visiting a divorce lawyer, quietly, carefully. I learned about North Carolina's laws, especially how adultery could impact alimony and property division. I didn't want revenge just for the satisfaction. I wanted justice. I wanted her to feel the sting of every betrayal she thought she could get away with. Then came the day that changed everything. She told me she had a business retreat coming up. Weekend trip. She'd be out of town from Friday to Sunday. I played dumb, even helped her pack. She kissed me on the way out and said, "Don't miss me too much." I just smiled and said, "Have a great trip." She didn't know I'd already booked a private investigator to follow her the entire weekend. Photos, videos, timestamps, the works. By Sunday night, I had more evidence than any court would ever need. There was no denying it. She was done. She just didn't know it yet. When she came home Sunday night, tired and fake sweet, I didn't confront her. I cooked her dinner, asked her about her trip. She lied right to my face, and I nodded, taking mental notes. That night, after she went to sleep, I opened my laptop and finished preparing the files. I wrote a letter to her. Calm, detailed, clear. I didn't yell or insult her. I simply laid out what I knew, what I had, and what was going to happen next. The next morning, I left the letter on the kitchen table along with a flash drive. Then I left for work early, like I always did. By the time she read it, I was already halfway downtown, sitting across from my lawyer, putting the final touches on the divorce paperwork. I knew Amanda would panic. I knew she'd try to lie, deflect, cry. But I had a plan for that too. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me one more time. She wanted a new life with Brandon? Fine, she could have it. But she wouldn't get a dime from me and she wouldn't walk away looking like the victim. Not on my watch. And that was just the beginning. When I got home that evening, Amanda was sitting at the kitchen table. The letter and flash drive were still in front of her, untouched. Her face was pale and her hands were trembling. She looked up at me like she was seeing a ghost. "You really went through my emails?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't say anything at first. I'd just placed my keys on the counter, hung my jacket by the door, and sat across from her. There was a long silence between us. I wanted her to sit in it, to feel it. She'd spent months lying to my face, and now she wanted an explanation. "I did," I finally said, "and I know everything. Brandon, the motel, the messages, the calls, the lies. All of it." She opened her mouth like she wanted to deny it, then shut it again. She knew there was no point. "I don't even know what to say," she murmured. "I didn't write that letter to start a fight," I told her. "I wrote it so you'd know exactly how this is going to go. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." She started to cry then, quiet, desperate sobs that might have broken me once. But not anymore. I watched her like I would a stranger. There was nothing left in me for her. No love, no pity, just focus. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, almost choking on the words. "Of course you didn't," I replied, "because you never thought I'd find out." I got up and walked into the living room, leaving her there with her guilt. She didn't follow me. Maybe she knew she had no right to. That week, I had her served with divorce papers. My attorney had timed it perfectly. We filed a motion that included the evidence of adultery, which in North Carolina could eliminate her ability to claim alimony. She was stunned. I'd always been the quiet, agreeable one in the marriage, the one who compromised, forgave, moved on. She thought I'd fall apart. Instead, I hit her with the cold, calculated consequences of every choice she made behind my back. Brandon, predictably, disappeared. He ghosted her the second she told him what was happening. Turns out he wasn't looking to build a life. He was looking for fun. A married woman was easy and exciting. A divorced woman dealing with court, lawyers, and financial ruin? Not so much. She tried reaching out to him, emails, texts, even showing up at one of his job sites. He ignored her completely. Her friends started to distance themselves too. Some of them had known about the affair, of course. Others were just embarrassed for her. Either way, Amanda found herself alone, scrambling to salvage whatever she could from the life she blew up with her own two hands. I didn't gloat. I didn't scream at her or post anything online. I let the silence do the work. I lived my life the same way I always had. Quiet, steady, focused. But inside, I was rebuilding. Not just my finances or my home, but my entire mindset. For the first time in years, I wasn't second-guessing myself. I wasn't wondering if I was enough. I knew I had been. She was the one who failed, not me. A few weeks later, Amanda called me. I was surprised she hadn't changed her number yet, but I picked up. "I don't know how to fix this," she said. Her voice was brittle, cracked. "You can't," I answered. "It's already broken." "I lost everything," she said. "Brandon won't even talk to me. I don't have anywhere to go after the lease ends." "I told you this would happen," I said. "I didn't want revenge, Amanda. I wanted the truth. And you gave me lies." "I didn't know how to ask for what I needed," she said. "I didn't know how to talk to you." "That's not true," I replied. "You knew exactly how to talk to Brandon." The silence on the other end stretched until it hurt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I believe you," I said. "But sorry doesn't change the facts, and it doesn't change what happens next." She didn't respond after that. We ended the call quietly. By the time our court date arrived, she had no lawyer. She couldn't afford one. She tried to negotiate directly with my attorney, but he held the line like I asked him to. We settled with me getting full ownership of the house, both cars, and the majority of our shared savings. She walked away with a suitcase of clothes and a tarnished reputation. I didn't want to see her on the street, so I gave her 2 months of rent money. Not because she deserved it, but because I didn't want to become like her. I wanted to end this with dignity, not spite. But that wasn't the end, not even close. In the months that followed, I started to focus on things I'd long forgotten about. My health, my hobbies, reconnecting with old friends. I picked up woodworking, something I used to enjoy in college but gave up once life got busy. I started volunteering at a youth coding program, mentoring kids who wanted to learn tech. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. And that's when I started planning the final piece of my revenge. Not the kind that hurts or humiliates, but the kind that shows the world exactly who you are without ever saying a word. Amanda had always cared about her image. She lived for validation, likes, comments, admiration from strangers. So I built something quietly, piece by piece. I documented my journey, my healing, my growth, my return to peace, and I turned it into a blog, then a YouTube channel. Wasn't flashy, just honest, real. I never said her name, never aired our dirty laundry. I just told my truth, anonymously. A man betrayed, broken, and rebuilt. The response was overwhelming. People resonated with it. Men and women alike reached out, thanking me for speaking the words they couldn't. It grew faster than I imagined. One day, Amanda found it. I know because she emailed me just one line. "I saw the video. I didn't realize how much I'd lost." I didn't reply. Why would I? She wasn't the story anymore. I was months turned into a year. Life didn't just go on, it got better. There's something quietly powerful about choosing peace over chaos, growth over resentment. I'd always thought of revenge as something loud, dramatic, maybe even violent. But what I found was far more lasting. Success, clarity, and the ability to live without bitterness. That was the real revenge. And it left a deeper mark than anything I could have shouted in anger. Amanda faded into the background of my life like an old photograph, still there but drained of color. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had bounced from job to job, struggling to regain her footing. The affair with Brandon had become something of a cautionary tale in her circles. He never committed to her. and her reputation at work had taken a hit after the way things ended between us. She was renting a small apartment downtown and working at a smaller marketing firm, one that didn't know her history. Or maybe they did and just didn't care. One evening while grocery shopping, I ran into her. I was walking out of the store, paper bags in hand, when I saw her sitting on a bench near the parking lot. She looked tired, worn down. She was staring at her phone like she was waiting on a text that wouldn't come. I almost walked past her, but she looked up and locked eyes with me. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded once. "Amanda." She stood slowly. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer, just stood there. She took that as a yes and walked a few steps closer. "You look different," she said. "Happy, even." "I am," I replied. She gave a weak smile, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. "I've been watching your channel. The way you talk about everything, it's honest. Hard to hear sometimes, but honest." "I didn't make it for you," I said. "I made it for me, and for the people who've been through the same kind of thing." "I know," she said. "That's what makes it worse. You didn't try to ruin me. You didn't drag my name through the mud. You just moved on." There was a long pause. She looked down at the ground, hands shoved in her coat pockets. "I think that's what hurts the most," she said quietly. "You didn't hate me. You just erased me." I didn't respond. What could I say to that? It was the truth. Hate implies caring. I didn't anymore, not really. "I never knew how much I needed you until I didn't have you anymore," she said. "And by then, it was too late." "I didn't change, Amanda," I said. "I was the same man the whole time. You just stopped looking." She nodded, eyes glassy. "Do you think there's ever a chance we could talk again? Not to fix anything, just as people." I shook my head slowly. "I hope you heal, but I'm not part of that process anymore." She looked down again, then gave a small nod of understanding. "I get it, I really do." Without another word, I walked away. I didn't look back. That night, I went home, set the groceries on the counter, and sat on my couch in the quiet. Not sad, not angry, just whole. It had taken over a year, a broken marriage, and a painful betrayal. But I had finally found the version of myself I didn't even know I'd lost. And I wasn't going to give that up for anyone. The channel continued to grow. People started sharing their own stories. I hosted live streams, connected with people across the country. People who had been cheated on, betrayed, abandoned. We weren't angry victims. We were survivors. And more than that, we were rebuilding. Then something unexpected happened. One of the followers, a woman named Casey, reached out. Her story mirrored mine in eerie ways. Betrayal by a spouse, a quiet divorce, a slow but deliberate path back to herself. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She was looking for direction. We started messaging, then talking, and eventually meeting up. No pressure, no rush, just two people who had walked through fire and come out stronger on the other side. With Casey, it wasn't about trying to replace the past. It was about learning how to enjoy the present again. We'd meet for coffee, talk about books, laugh about old movies. There was no performance, no mask, just honesty. She knew my story, and I knew hers. There was freedom in that. I never told Amanda about Casey, not because I was hiding anything, but because it wasn't her story to be part of anymore. My future belonged to me. I wasn't writing my life around someone else's approval ever again. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like a dramatic confrontation. It doesn't come with shouting or tears. Sometimes the deepest revenge is becoming exactly who they said you'd never be. Stronger, happier, untouched by their betrayal. Amanda thought she could destroy me. What she didn't realize is that she freed me. She handed me the pen and let me write a better story, one where I win. And that's the story I'm still writing. Every single day.